Welcome back, everyone. Going to introduce our next speaker. I'm going to introduce Dr. Joffe Ellis. She was born and raised in Melbourne, Australia, and New York City's been her home base for the past 2 decades. She's a licensed psychologist, a licensed mental health counselor. She's a presenter, a writer, and an adjunct presenter at Columbia University in New York City, where she teaches rational emotive behavior therapy and comparative psychotherapies. And for years, she worked with her husband, the renowned pioneer in modern cognitive therapy therapist, Dr. Albert Ellis, giving public presentations and professional trainings in his approach on REBT, as well as collaborating with him on writing and on research projects until his death in 2007. She's recognized as a world-renowned expert in rational emotive behavioral therapy and regularly presents throughout the United States and in countries around the world, as well as to students and academics and practitioners. She wrote the second edition of the book Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy that was published in 2019 that she co-wrote with her husband in its first edition. And in 2014, she was named the Legend in Counseling at the American Counseling Association Annual Conference. And she's received various other awards and acknowledgments for her work. In 2023, she was nominated by the former American Psychological Association president, Dr. Frank Farley, and renowned psychologist and author, Dr. Stanley Kipner, to receive the American Psychological Association's International Division's Global Citizen Award. So please give a warm welcome to Dr. Debbie Joffe Ellis.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, loud. Is that too loud? Hi, everyone. Thank you. It's a great joy to be here. Before I start talking about what I'm going to talk about, I'd like to say a few quick additional thank yous. Thank you to Jen Brush of the Charleston Dorchester Mental Health Center, all at Mental Health Heroes, the South Carolina Department of Mental Health, David, Diana, I mean, what a wizard, what a master, the flawless organization. You're just wherever you are. and Lindsay and Tia and all the other helpers. And thank you all of you who are here. And I'm looking, I hope, into the camera to those of you who are attending virtually. I feel that one of the greatest tragedies of humankind is that very few of us realize, are taught, learn, know, or believe that it's not rotten circumstances, it's not what happens to us that creates our emotional experience and our reactions and our responses. It's what we tell ourselves about what's going on that creates our emotions. And the number of us who disempower ourselves by blaming COVID or the partner or the friend or jobs or work, when really the responsibility and the privilege, frankly, lies within us. If we're not cognitively impaired and we're able to think clearly and we're not in pain 24/7, then what a damn pity. Is it all right if I say that? Damn? Okay, I can exceed that later. What, frankly, a heart-wrenching shame that so many of us can live according to what we think we should do, what's expected of us, according to societal norms and what our social circles tell us we should be like. And therein lies one of the root causes of emotional misery and suffering. One of the reasons, and there are many, that I adore Rational Emotive Behaviour Therapy, which I'll from now on call REBT, or else I lose half an hour. And it's not because I was married to the extraordinary man, Albert Ellis, who created it. I loved it when I was studying psychology at the University of Melbourne. Can you tell David said I'm from down under. My accent won't leave me. I've always loved REBT because it is holistic. It is the pioneering cognitive approach. Albert Ellis heralded in the cognitive revolution in psychotherapy, and sadly, since his passing, which was yesterday, 17 years ago, REBT seems to be being marginalized. Now, please don't misinterpret what I'm about to say. I'm not being critical or comparing. I'm just saying that the better, it seems, known among younger people CBT approach is based on the principles of REBT. My husband mentored the late, great Tim Beck, Dr. Aaron Beck. DBT, ACT, executive coaching based on the principles of REBT, which first came out in the early 1950s, CBT in the later 1960s. Do the math. I'm not just saying this as a proud wife. My husband did it first. I'm saying it for the integrity of facts. And I think it's important to know our roots and the roots of various schools of knowledge. And so REBT has all the scientific elements, that are seen in CBT, but it additionally focuses more on educating about emotions. It focuses more on encouraging people to understand their philosophy of life and living, and reminding each one of us that with awareness, we have choice. I mean, it's not enough to let affirming thoughts marinate in our brain. That's a start, and then action is required. But I've always loved the simplicity and the elegance of REBT and the easy-to-use tools that it provides. It was born pretty much from the way my late husband found, or the ways, to cope with his suffering from infancy onwards. He was very ill often. He spent a lot of time in hospitals. His parents rarely visited him. He felt really, really sad. And little brilliant visionary genius Albert Ellis decided he didn't want to feel so sad. So he found ways of distracting himself. Little boy, he read books in the kiddies' library. He spoke to visitors when he wasn't feeling too sick, of course. And when he was a little older, terrified of talking to females, even though he wanted to ask some out on dates. And so he pushed himself to do uncomfortably what he wanted to get comfortable at. He gave himself the homework of talking to 100 women in Central Park over the month of August in some year when he was young, just to get over the fear, to prove to himself that nothing terrible would happen. So he spoke to 100 women over that month of August, made one date, but she didn't show up. However, he saw nothing terrible happened. He overcame his fear. And that became a part of REBT in vivo desensitization. Keeping busy when he was an infant, cognitive distraction. I could go on and on about the roots of REBT, but let me first get into the basics of REBT. If there's time later, I'll continue with that. Here's my plan. I'd like to share with you the basics of REBT, as I just said. If there's a volunteer, I would then like to do a quick demonstration. Not a role play, but a demo. I'd like to talk about a few, there won't be time to go over all, but a few of the main tools and techniques of REBT. And I welcome, both virtually and in person, any questions or discussion in the time we'll have at the end. So, here we go, the basics of REBT. And as I describe them, I urge you please to think about your own thinking. You know, healers, heal thyself. I mean, we can still do a great job of helping other people when we come from a place of compassion and genuine care, or we have a technique that really is solid and proven and it works. But there's something about practicing what we preach, as the imperfect, fallible humans that we are, that for those of us who are our therapists, and there are people here, I believe, from other of the helping professions, but still in whatever role, and it's really a privilege to be with people who do what you do, who've chosen to do what you do, to devote so much of your time and energy to helping other humans, yeah? When we do our best to practice what we preach, then we're models to other people of what's possible. I mentioned earlier about COVID. In the early stages of COVID, I remember many reporters on TV and newspapers, so on, that was saying because of COVID, the number of people suffering from anxiety and depression has grown. Well, I'm not disputing that the number grew, but I and REBT would assert it wasn't COVID. Because if it was COVID, every single human biologically would have been experiencing depression, anxiety. No, REBT reminds us that it was what we were telling ourselves about the COVID. You see, I'm not, what's the expression, blowing my own horn here. I'm not being kind of show-offy by saying I didn't feel anxious. What I can say is I didn't feel anxious, and I'm so grateful. And the reason is for many, many years before COVID, I've been practicing the principles of REBT and watching my thinking and refusing to catastrophize when bad things happened. And so REBT reminds us that the people who suffer the most emotionally are those who do cling to a need for certainty. How futile when some things there's no certainty. I mean, what is certain apart from death? No, not taxes. Some people don't pay taxes. So the need for certainty, the need to know, should I get a vaccine or not? What if and how long? And hearing many people say, I don't know who I am anymore. It had me wondering, who did you think you were before that you're not now because you happen to be restricted due to the COVID situation? So, the first main element of REBT, it's not an event. It's not what happens that creates our emotions, what we tell ourselves about it. The next main reminder from REBT, when we think in irrational ways about bad things or very bad things, when we think in irrational ways, we create what REBT calls unhealthy negative emotions. Now, the word negative in this context doesn't mean bad. It means it's not all that pleasant. When we think in rational ways about the same brutal, bad, concerning event, then we create what REBT calls healthy negative emotions. The unhealthy negative emotions include anxiety, panic, extreme fear, hopelessness, despondency, depression, rage, guilt, and shame. I invite each one of you, and those of you who are attending virtually, if you were to think of a time as recent as possible when you experienced any one of the unhealthy negative emotions that I just mentioned. And I ask you to contemplate what might you have been, or if you can remember, what were you thinking at that time? Because my hunch is, my strong belief is, that it was more what you were thinking than the circumstance that created that emotion. The healthy negative emotions that we create when we think in healthy, rational ways include concern instead of anxiety, panic, and fear. REBT isn't about creating some namby-pamby neutral, it's all fine emotion, or lack of, or blandness. REBT, mirroring the intense personality and drive of Albert Ellis, wants us, encourages us to feel our emotions, but the healthy ones. And again, we and only we are responsible for creating the healthy or the unhealthy ones. So concern can be motivating. Oh, this is due in 3 days. Let me get up off my tush, ass, whatever, and do something, make a plan. Concern is motivating. Anxiety can be paralyzing. Oh, we procrastinate to avoid. Oh, we look for this or that excuse, etc. When we think in rational ways instead of hopelessness, despondency, and depression, we create healthy grief, sadness, and disappointment. Sadness and disappointment can be motivating, inviting us to reflect. Okay, did I have a part in this outcome that I didn't like? Is there anything I can do? Is there anything, or is there nothing right now that I can do other than to accept that in life sometimes bad things happen? Grief, in the early stages, for however long that lasts, and it's different for different people, the length of time, but yeah, it aches, it hurts. But as time goes on, most of us experience that intensity of grief is married to our love or gratitude for that or whom we've lost. It might be a person, it might be a pet, it might be a period in our life that's over and we wish it wasn't. Yeah? And so it's healthy after the initial intense pain, that tender kind of gratitude, which is something that REBT, by the way, encourages, daily gratitude. It helps us keep our thinking healthy, gives us healthy perspective. Very quick example, by the way, though it's dramatic, regarding the impact on hopelessness versus sadness, disappointment, grief. My late great parents in the Second World War survived 5 years in concentration camps. And they made it to Australia, a new life. And some people, when I was growing up, oh, wow, it must be tough sometimes living with parents who went through that. And no, it wasn't. I'm so fortunate because my parents focused more on their gratitude for having survived and having opportunities to start a new life. Oh, did they cry at times, memories, anniversaries? Of course they did. But more than focusing on the horror of the past, they focused on the blessing and gifts of their present. There were other people who survived such things who didn't focus on gratitude and had what was back in those days called nervous breakdowns. We'd call it now generalized anxiety disorder, and depression, and suffered. And in my observation, because some of the people who suffered from this chronic depression and anxiety and we would say now, it wasn't a term then, post-traumatic stress, was the fact that they focused more on the horrors of the past and less on the here and now and what was good in the here and now. Just also want to insert, of course, REBT acknowledges the impact of biology, and that some people have certain endogenous tendencies to create anxiety and depression more than others. And so thoughtful use of appropriate medication to bring balance, coupled with healthy therapeutic or self-help, akin to REBT, or any other approach that's uplifting and helpful and pragmatic, is not frowned at. REBT practitioners would frown at lazy medication, right? But two wings of a flying bird for someone who has those biological tendencies, appropriate medication, which research has shown after significant time of appropriate therapy, many people can be weaned off medication. Anyway, back to what I was saying about the healthy negative emotions. When we think in rational ways, instead of rage, we create what REBT calls healthy anger. REBT has an assumption that people who suffer from disturbances can tend to do disturbing things. And someone who is somewhat balanced and not suffering from severe pathologies or disturbances tends to not do or not choose to do evil or extremely disturbing behaviour. Healthy anger can be motivating to people who choose to fight against injustices, who choose to act against people who are acting in evil ways, but to act against them in a sense from a place of stability, not rage, which often begets more rage. When we think in healthy, rational ways, instead of guilt and shame often present in people who attempt to take their lives, we experience healthy regret. Regret, like healthy anger, is also connected to our moral compass and invites us to consider the situation, to be willing to take responsibility for any part we played in it, to make amends if we can, to accept if we can't. I think I'm losing my mic. Maybe I'm not. So regret is healthy. So I hope that's clear, the difference between the healthy and the unhealthy negative emotions. One of the things I so much love about REBT is the fact that it distinguishes between the healthy and unhealthy negative emotions. Many approaches in psychotherapy talk about the positive and the negative, but they don't have those subgroups, which I think are so clarifying and helpful for many of us. I love REBT because it's not only an evidence-based therapeutic approach, it's a way of life for those of us who choose to use it as such and who are interested in learning more about our emotions. Well, I'm preaching to the choir here, but as I touched on earlier in the Healer Heal Thyself, sometimes in our giving, doing, busy life, juggling this and that, we can forget to think about our own thinking and to tune in to our own emotions and just carry on regardless, which is very noble till we burn out. Now, I like to distinguish between the difference between irrational thinking and rational thinking. And again, I invite you, please, if you want to use this time well, to consider whether you think in any of these irrational ways, sometimes, often, habitually, because with awareness we have choice about making changes, if you choose to do so. The first element of irrational thinking is demandingness. shoulds and musts and oughts, very rigid, very inflexible. My husband was very good wordsmith, and he came up with the expression, stop shoulding on yourself. And he also came up with a word, it has a U in it, not an A, it's not my accent. And he would say, stop masturbating. I said that once at a university in Geneva, and they didn't get what I meant. They thought it was my accent, and I was there to talk about psychology, and I almost read the minds as they didn't smile, thinking, why is she telling us not to masturbate? No. So masturbation is, I must do this, you must do that, life must be, da, da, da. In fact, there are some core irrational beliefs that are very common. The first one is, I must do well and be loved, liked, approved of by everyone. Lots of luck, yeah? The second one is you. And you could be an individual, it could be a family, it could be a group, it could be co-workers, it could be a religion, it could be a lack of religion, it could be a politician, it could be a political group, a country, and so forth. So it can be singular or plural. You must act the way I think you should. This is at the heart of war and terrorism. You must believe what I believe. You must treat me the way I think you should. A third core irrational belief is life should be fair and with justice. Of course, the desire is healthy, and let us take action and do what we can to create more justice and fairness in this crazy world. However, if we demand right now it should, when right now it isn't, then we're acting like little tantruming babies. We're creating rage instead of, I wish life were more just and fair. What can I do about it? Another, and I touched on this before, another common irrational belief or tendency is the need for certainty. I must have certainty, I must know. And also the need for perfection. I must do this perfectly well, or you should do this perfectly well. No good. Continuing my description of elements of irrational thinking, catastrophizing, awfulizing, convincing ourselves it's the worst that it could be. And frankly, if we're alive and able to think and not in pain 24/7, it's not the worst it could be. It could be atrociously painful and bad, but where there's life, there literally is hope. And that's not just a Hallmark saying. It's something my parents lived through, and I'm sure many of us, our ancestors one way or another, and we at times have experienced. You hang in, you cope, and things change for the better. When we think in irrational ways, we take things too seriously, we blow them out of perspective, proportion, we lack humor. We have what REBT calls low frustration tolerance. I must have what I want when I want it, little baby that I am. That's closely related to the condition of I can't standitis. We think in absolutistic ways, we overgeneralize, and we damn ourselves and others and life when things don't go the way we think they should. Can any of you identify people in your lives who think in any of those ways? Yeah, probably easily. Can any of you identify times you think like that? When we think in rational ways, it's the opposite of what I just said. We have preferences, we have wishes, we have desires, we have wants. That's healthy. But if I desire this, and I don't get it, I'll be healthfully sad. I might grieve for a while, but I won't be enraged, as I might make myself if I thought it should have happened, or hopeless if I thought it's never going to happen for me. It's all in the thinking. So we have preferences, we keep things in proportion, we use humor, we have high frustration tolerance. I love this mantra. I can stand what I don't like. I just don't like it. We don't think in absolutistic ways, we don't overgeneralize, we don't catastrophize, we don't awfulize. And one of the main and distinct elements of REBT that sets it apart from other cognitive approaches, and one of the reasons I love it so much, is its emphasis on the importance of unconditional self-acceptance, unconditional other acceptance, and unconditional life acceptance. REBT asserts that every individual has worth simply because we exist. We may do a lot of good things. That doesn't make us a good person. It makes us a person who does a lot of good things. Some people do evil things. We may do some bad things intentionally or unintentionally. It doesn't make us wholly bad or evil, but a person who does bad or evil things. Some people have said that how can you expect me to unconditionally accept someone who's murdered members of my family or raped me or my sister or done horrific things? How can you expect me to unconditionally accept them? And REBT does not invite us to accept bad behavior, and it passionately would encourage us to seek just consequences if and when possible. But it urges us to consider, if our goal is not to be an incubator for rage and hatred, which doesn't hurt the evildoer but will shorten our lives, if we are willing to consider, if any one of us was born with the evildoer's genetic makeup, tendencies, brought up to believe some of the things they believed, went through what they did in puberty, indoctrinated certain ideas, if any one of us had their malady and was thinking what they were thinking the moment they did the evil act, isn't it likely, are we willing to admit we in all probability would have done the same or similar thing? And that's reason for us to be grateful if we haven't. And if any of us have performed acts that we regret, we're fallible humans. We're fallible humans. Unconditional other acceptance is kind of a pathway to forgiveness. And it's not always easy. But for a person, I think of the church in Charleston, where some years ago a disturbed young man joined a Bible group. He shot the parishioners. And I remember in New York watching the news that night, really literally sharing tears when I heard a couple of the survivors and relatives of slain individuals, people, say, "We forgive that young man." It's possible. It can take time. It takes willingness and the desire and motivation to think things through. If we notice we're creating one of those debilitating emotions, we can let it be, distract ourselves, it doesn't go away, or we can think things through in a way I'm about to describe. The final element of rational thinking is unconditional life acceptance. Whilst we acknowledge the brutal, cruel elements in life, we stubbornly refuse to say all of life is rotten. And we make an effort every day. REBT encourages us to remember what we can be grateful for. It's often said that people who are geniuses are able to present things in a way that are easy to understand, whether someone has a tertiary education or very little education. And a brilliant framework that my late husband created is the ABCDE of REBT. By the way, for those of you watching virtually, you already have handouts that will describe what I've already said and some of what I'm yet to say. And for those of you here, you will receive them. This ABCDE is for people who recognize they're creating their unhealthy negative emotions. They choose to change them. And here's the framework. A, the activating event. We write down what seems to have created the unhealthy negative emotion that we want to change. Then we go to C, which stands for consequence. See, I know B comes first, but not in this. And so we get real clear, what am I feeling? Is it rage or is it healthy moral anger? What's the difference? I neglected to say. With rage, we're impulsive, it's reactive, we don't think things through. With healthy anger, we're in control of our actions. We think things through. Do I run for the hills, call 911, approach what? We're in control of what we do. Much healthier outcomes all around. So you identify, is it grief I'm feeling or is it depression? If it's healthy grief, then the next step would be put the ABCDE sheet away. It's good to do in writing for early months. And just self-nurture. Compassion on oneself. But if it is one of the unhealthy negative ones, then the next step is the detective work. What am I telling myself that's creating this emotion? Because it's not the A, it's not the activating event, it's not the person who insulted me and what I'm doing. It's what I'm telling myself about it. So, cherchez le should, for those of you who understand French. Look for the should. As many irrational beliefs as you can. He shouldn't have. I can't stand it when she. I'll never. And write them all down. And then comes D. I love D so much because many approaches invite us, identify your unhealthy beliefs and replace them, which ultimately is REBT goals. But REBT goes deeper than that. REBT says, before you replace the unhealthy beliefs, dispute the guts out of them. Because if we still believe something, even if we've replaced it, it's going to come back. If through our questioning it, it loses its credibility, then we're less likely to believe it. And over time and repetition of our healthy new beliefs, healthy new beliefs, new neural pathways are formed. Visionary genius Albert Ellis in the 1940s, before neuroplasticity was even a word, was becoming more active directive with his clients, even though he was trained as a psychoanalyst, because in those days you had no choice. That's why he created REBT, because he wanted an approach that was more holistic and efficient. And so, I lost my thread. Help. Dispute, thank you, yes, yeah. And so through questioning, thank you for that, see, proves you're listening. Where is it written? Of each of the irrational beliefs, where is it written? Where is the evidence? Is it helping me or hurting me to believe this? Where is it getting me? Does it follow that just because I want something very much, that it should happen when it's not happening? and we dispute each of our irrational beliefs. Oh, neuroplasticity, yes. So back then he was a psychoanalyst, and he started being more active directive, and he gave his clients homework to do for at least 30 days. Fast forward lots of decades. Neuroplasticity takes at least 30 days for new neural pathways to be formed in the brain. A few of mine were missing a few minutes ago. So, and that's the way we create new habitual ways of thinking, repetition, repetition. Okay, so we dispute each of the irrational beliefs, and then we come up with the E, effective new beliefs. These aren't sort of pie in the sky, overgeneralizing, it's all for the best, la la la. No, the flavor of REBT is realistic optimism. I can stand what I don't like, I just don't like it. I told you that one before, it's very helpful. I can make a plan, and worst case scenario is not the end of the world. I can look for something different, a different way of creativity. Tucker this morning gave us such good ideas and through his presentation. So then after we come up with the effective new beliefs, as I said, repetition, and ongoing effort. REBT reminds us it's not enough to have an aha, an epiphany, but to create and maintain lasting change requires ongoing effort, ongoing effort. What a pity not to in this one short life we have, when it's not waiting for things out here to change, but things within us. There are many other techniques, cognitive, emotive, and behavioral, that clearly I don't have time now to go into. But at the heart of them all, think things through, dispute the unhealthy beliefs, replace them and repeat them, act kindly to oneself, and care and help other people. One of the myths about REBT, it's me, very soliptic. Not at all. Heal thyself and do a better job helping more people, not just through your words, but actions and presence. I've gone through the basics of REBT. I'm wondering, and it will just be a quickie, I'm looking at the time, is there anyone here brave enough to volunteer, not a role play, but willing to bring up a real issue that you're going through now that's creating some emotional disturbance for you? Okay, whoever wants to, just one person come up the stairs. I can't see very well, so can anyone? I mean, I can see well, but not you right now. Okay, here comes someone. Oh dear, here comes 3 people. Oh, here comes... Oh, do you need help coming? Could you help this lady? What's your name?
Roxanne.
Roxanne, will you have a seat? Thank you. Just going to keep my eye on the time back there. Okay, hi Roxanne. Thank you for volunteering, and I apologize in advance because I might have to sort of speed through this a little bit.
Okay, that's fine.
Can you tell us, and by the way, let me ask that you not disclose Roxanne's name if you talk about whatever we're going to do to anyone outside of here, that you can say what you saw but not mention the name, the gender, anything that would identify Roxanne, please, as you would with clients. So Roxanne, what would you like to mention? How can I help you, perhaps?
I'm currently struggling with getting out of my head and starting my own business, a speaking business, but I get really anxious about, I have multiple sclerosis. So there are a lot of ways that I move and a lot of cognitive things, speaking, and I think I'm keeping myself back. I'm holding myself back.
Okay. Do I have your permission to be very direct with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. By the way, is my mic okay? It fell off my ear. Can you hear me? Okay, this is the new fashion in jewellery. Sorry, Roxanne.
That's okay.
Thanks, Joe. Can I keep talking? Please. Thank you. Joe's my jewellery person. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Roxanne.
That's okay, you're fine.
Thank you for your patience.
Not a hairdresser.
Feels good. Thanks, Joe. You could be. Yay for Joe. So you gave me permission to be very direct. You were very patient with me right now, Roxanne. I felt it, not only from the beauty and sweetness in your face, but you said so. I just felt you were you being fake or genuine?
No, that's me. Yes, that's me.
It's
That's
you?
me, yeah.
Would you answer me honestly now if I ask you something? Are you ever that patient with yourself?
I'm not that patient with myself at all. I'm not. I used to move fast. I used to be able to do all the things. I was a teacher. I could talk. I could speak without having to stumble over my words or try to find my words.
It's an interesting part of your journey that you have this MS. Let me say, right now you speak more clearly than a lot of people without it that I know. But and we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right?
Right.
But let's say worst case and speaking gets harder and moving gets harder. In the here and now, you have admitted that you're not patient with yourself because of how you used to be.
Right.
And if I might point out to you, one of the first things you said was, I get anxious. And you said I could be direct. Roxanne, don't lie to me. You don't get anxious. You make yourself anxious.
True. As I sat here listening to you, I was saying, it's me thinking about other people seeing the way I walk, or me thinking about, oh, what if they see me stumble?
What if they see you stumble? Let's say you stumble and you mumble, and someone is... So then what? What does that mean about you?
When you put it that way, it doesn't mean anything that they say it.
In fact, what actually does it reveal?
That they notice too much. They're too worried about me, and I'm too worried about what everybody else thinks.
You are the sweetest heart. What you just see here again, unconditional other acceptance, they're worried about me. Some of them, can I swear again? I don't normally swear this much. It must be the shrimp and grits. Some people would have said, it reveals they're bitchy, they're nasty, but you said they're worried about me. Now, some of
Right.
them might be, and some might be gossiping people. But where does it get you to wonder or get yourself anxious about what others might think?
It's gotten me nowhere. It's gotten me absolutely nowhere. It's gotten me staying in the house, isolating, just not wanting to get out. In fact, this is the second day that I've been out. So
beautiful. Roxanne, if I had some condition and it was restricting me, and the prediction, which we don't know it's actually going to happen till it happens.
Right.
But the prognosis was, it might, da, da, da. And I was stumbly mumbly. What would you say to me if I said to you, I feel so anxious about what people are going to think?
I would tell you not to worry about what everybody else thinks. Just get out and do you. Just do you. Get out and enjoy life.
Right, right. Now, back to your impatience about yourself. Tell me more about self-torture.
I will admit that I get really angry with myself.
You don't get angry. You said I could be direct.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
You don't sort of get it. You make yourself angry by telling yourself what, Roxanne?
That I'm slow, that you need to move better, you can do better. Why can't you get this?
Okay, why can't you get it?
Every once in a while, it's slow to come. Even the words are slow to come sometimes. The words that I want to use, that I used to use, like, I could just pop them off. And sometimes I go to talk and I'm like, what's that word? And I pause to find the words so I can sound a certain way, the way I want to sound. Or if I'm moving in the kitchen trying to do things, I want to move as fast as my mom does.
You live with your mum?
Yeah, I live with my mom and dad now. And I want to move as quickly and as gracefully as they do, and I'm dropping, and it's frustrating.
You frustrate yourself because it sounds to me, tell me if I'm wrong, that you are demanding that right now you not be the way you are. And frankly, that's cruel.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. It is cruel. It's like not accepting me for who I am.
Right. Now, if your parents, may they live long lives and be totally healthy when they pass, but let's say in 20 years they slow down. Are you going to be that brutal with them?
No.
Oh, you had to
No.
think about that.
I had to think about it because I was like, I feel like I'm impatient with my mom, but I'm impatient with myself, but I'm more patient with her than I am with me.
That's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
Can you tell me in your words, what, if anything, will it take for you to start treating yourself with kindness?
As I say here right now, I actually don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I do a whole lot of playing music, a lot of dancing around,
Distraction.
a lot of TV.
Distraction.
Yes.
I mean,
it's true.
Music is a healer. Dancing is great. TV, yeah, why not? I've been known to watch Law and Order at 2 a.m.
Right.
But it's not getting to the root cause of your self-cruelty, is it?
No, it's not. It's just the noise out there blocks what's in my head.
And kudos to you for having the courage to come up here, because this could be a whole new beginning for you. So, can you think of some ways from this moment on, Roxanne, that you will choose to act differently to yourself daily? Tell me. I believe you know.
I think getting out, and actually this has been an eye-opener to me. Getting out, driving out, and even just walking on the beach. I did that a couple of times, and I've been here for 24 years, and I've never done it. But just walking on the beach, feeling the sun on my face, and feeling nature, hearing nature.
I encourage you to do that. It's not enough. You said I could be honest.
Right.
Please do that every day if you can, and dance and music, but they're distraction. You are telling yourself some nasty things. I'm looking at the time. May I hypothesize what I think you might be telling yourself?
Yes.
But will you honestly tell me if I'm wrong?
Okay. Yeah.
And then come up with your version. So this is just to help you think of your self-torture.
Okay.
I'm hypothesizing that you might tell yourself, I wasn't like this before, I shouldn't be like this now. In other words, you're using how you were to be the standard by which you must live now, even though circumstances have changed. Right. So I must be like that. I mean, 30 years, I wouldn't mind being a few ways like I was 30 years ago.
Right.
Would you recommend I keep now comparing myself to how I was then, or counting my blessings now every day?
Counting your blessings now every day. And I do. You're right. That's exactly what I do. I shouldn't be living with my parents.
Preferably shouldn't. Should is a dirty word. Stop shooting on yourself. She should on herself.
I want to be on my own. I want to be independent again. I want to be able to do whatever I want without having. My mother still asks, "Where are you going?" I'm 48 years old.
Yeah. Roxanne, and look, there's nothing wrong with wanting that. I want the end of cruelty to animals. I want world peace. I want the end of cruelty to people. But my wanting it doesn't make it so, and a little bit denies me from the reality of, even though that's bad, but this still is good. I'm thinking you comparing yourself to what was and thinking about what you want that just right now in this moment you may not be able to easily get is part of your self-torture. Am I right?
That it's self-torture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should still be able to do what
Right.
I could do, and I should be freer without restriction. When bad like this MS.
And that's what I do. I actually get mad at the fact that, why are you not? Or why haven't you? And I didn't think of it as self-torture until you said self-torture.
Well, it is.
Yes, it is. It is. And I honestly, even when you said, what's something nice I could do for myself? I don't know. I just...
Yeah, you do. You told me some things. Walking, dancing, music, but also we're clarifying the self-torture. You know what else you can do?
What?
Stop cruelty to Roxanne. Would you be willing to write down those cruel, task-masking beliefs that you told me you have? I should be able to. I used to be able to. And dispute them as you would if I were telling you that. And you would say, come on, but you can still enjoy music, you can still dance.
Right.
You still have the courage, though you're feeling like crap, to get out and come to a conference of all things. You know, and you would encourage me. Are you willing to encourage yourself? Here's the thing. You said I could be straightforward.
Yes.
If you keep thinking the way you're thinking, you will suffer more for the rest of your life. It's not going to help your immune system. It weakens it. And it robs you of joy.
Right.
So, would you, some suggestions, if we had more time, I would pull them out of you, but may I make some suggestions?
Yes.
Would you be willing, if you're not already, to start a journal of daily gratitude? It's not about denying, I'm so unhappy I can't move well today. No, it's not about denying truth, but I can still go to the beach and feel the breeze on my face. I'm grateful that my mother, though she nags me and wants to know what I'm doing, loves me. I'm great. And it's not like a creative journal, it can be, but just every day, even if it's the same things. And you don't just write it, you feel it. I am grateful because. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes. Yes, I will.
Would you be willing to write a love letter to yourself every day?
Yeah, I can do that.
I know you can, will you?
Yes. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I will.
Would you be willing, is this realistic to say 2 or 3 times a week, to write down any thoughts you remember having that are brutal, must, should, and dispute them and replace them?
Yes. Yes, I will do that. I will do
Well,
that.
you're learning fast. Roxanne, would you be willing, when you notice you're comparing yourself to what was, to stop it and think, I'm alive now? I'm alive now. Yeah, this is a shit day. This is a better day. This is a beautiful moment. Bring yourself back here. Would you be willing to do that?
Yes, be present.
Be
And
present.
I like that. I'm alive now.
You are, and beautifully so, and an inspiration to others, a bright, shining light. You are, and so kind. You were so kind to me. You just were rotten to yourself. But notice I spoke in past tense. I said you were rotten, because we've started something new.
Yes, yes,
Are you willing to maintain it? That's up to you.
right.
That's your power.
That's
Even
right,
if
that's
your
true.
mum is like treating you like an 8-year-old.
Right.
Just remember she's coming from love. That's her idea of being a mum. Don't take
Right.
it too seriously. Live in your own bubble of self-empowerment and compassion on yourself.
Yeah.
This is being recorded, so you'll be able to see it.
Be able to remember all the things I'm supposed to do.
It's not that you should do them, but if you don't, you'll suffer.
Right.
And by the way, as you chronicle your, is there a song, come on, you know music, A New Attitude?
I've been playing Beyonce's, what is it called? Now I can't think of it. But I've been playing Beyonce lately.
Good. By the way, yay. See, you put down you're not remembering to MS. I don't have MS. And I couldn't remember the song. Do you see how you magnify that and it doesn't help you?
Right.
And I'm not denying it would be better if you didn't. But here's the challenge of your life journey. And in so doing, you can inspire others.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Break your soul. Break my soul. Is that the song? Is that the name of the song? Beyonce, Break My Soul. That was it.
Break it, break it, break it. Actually, make it.
Yes.
So listen, unfortunately, I have to wind up now because those numbers are getting threatening. But for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's not little numbers of people coming to get me, it's the time clock. I'm delusional. No, so do you have any questions or anything you want to say to me? And you don't have to be nice.
No, I appreciate the those words you use, I'm torturing myself. Because I've never used those words, but when you said it, I was like, yes, I am. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm being cruel to myself. And I will try, no, I will. I will stop comparing myself to who I used to be, because who I am now is, I'm great now, as I am.
Yes, you are.
Right.
You are
Great
great.
as I am. Yeah. So, yeah. And now I see it.
Yeah. Now be warned. Those old ideas, beliefs will keep on coming. Remember me, remember me. So your job is to be the stronger than your thoughts, and you are. Yes. Yeah. So even if you don't remember everything I've suggested, this is being recorded.
Yes.
And honestly, it's a scientific biological fact that if you make ongoing effort, and some days may be harder than others.
Most simply defined, racism refers to the belief that one racial group is superior or...
Each one of us has a finite lifetime and journey.
Right.
You've picked quite a challenge, but gosh, with such gifts and talent and a radiant, beautiful soul and spirit. So later find me, or you can find out my email address. Let me know how you're going. Okay. And I will give you hell if you don't do what you said you would. Right? Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Beautiful. You can do this. You can do this. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Are you okay? Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Some people have said, wrongly, that REBT is simplistic and superficial. I'm biased, but I also am telling the truth when I say I don't know of any other approach that can get to the root and heart and mind of emotional suffering and give us doable solutions. I love REBT so much, can you tell? And as I said before, as a way of life, not only the therapy that it is, tools and techniques, and we have 3 minutes and 23 seconds. So the ABCDE, and you'll get the handout. Read my book. No, and any of Albert Ellis' books. I don't get royalties, so this is quite ethical, because one of the famous REBT techniques for people who care too much about what others think is the famous shame attacking exercise, where you do something that attracts attention and you tell yourself, what they think of me, so what? I have worth. Al, my husband, Albert Ellis, I called him Al. I slept with him. I didn't call him Dr. Ellis. We were conducting a workshop, and over lunchtime, we asked the attendees to do a shame attacking exercise. And a man attendee tied a string around a banana he'd brought for a snack. And at the institute that time was near a very rich part of New York, Park Avenue, and he walked down Park Avenue with a banana, and people were kind of looking at him, and luckily one woman asked, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Well, can't you see I'm taking my banana for a walk?" And she's like, and he came back to the workshop elated, because it was so clear to him that her judgment was all about her judgment and had nothing to do with his worth. Again, there are other tools and techniques. I only had 75 minutes with you. We actually have 1.5 minutes if one of you wants to shout out a quick question or comment. And there was light.
What are you grateful for?
What am I grateful for? Thank you so much. I am so grateful to be alive. I love being on this planet. Nature, the beauty of nature, when I see kindness and good things, I'm hypersensitive. I cry easily. I pick up people's pain. I hate observing the suffering of others. I do what I can, but I'm very limited. And I'm grateful that it brings me joy to help other people. I'm grateful that I am not concerned about what people think of me. I try to do a good job. Joe helps me with my hair. But I'm grateful that I can enjoy just gazing at the sky and nature and trees in Charleston and everywhere else. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to be with all of you. I have 12 seconds. Catch me during the 2 days if you want to say hi and ask questions. It's been a blessing being with you. Roxanne, you inspire me. I love you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.